heart is broken. The beauty, the natural beauty is there. So we have to rebuild that community. I have so many neighbors that have lost their homes.
Please describe what your neighborhood looks like now.
It looks like a war zone. It's not only indescribable, it's unidentifiable. But you know what we didn't lose? We didn't lose the heart. And we didn't lose the soul, and we didn't lose the natural beauty. And those are the things that we need to rebuild.
God, she seems like such a sweet lady. Good evening. Welcome to Fox 11 News at 10 o'clock tonight. I'm Alex Michelson.
Thank you so much for being with us at 10 o'clock. I'm Marla Tejas, here for Christine Devine. Let's get you caught up to speed here.
And the latest map from CAL FIRE, the Palisades Fire, has burned nearly 20,000 acres. The Eaton Fire scorching over 13,000 near Pasadena. Crews have contained 60% of the Lidia Fire in Acton. Evacuation orders remain, though. Other fires like the Kenneth Fire, Hurst, we've seen a lot of progress on those, thankfully, and really slowed the spread on those. Red flag warnings are in effect through Friday night, with more dramatic Santa Ana winds coming Monday night.
Yes, and the Hurst fire is 37% contained. The Kenneth Fire, 35% contained. What about power outages and shutoffs? The high fire danger means power shutoffs for thousands tonight. SoCal Edison has cut power to more than 35,000 customers in LA County and 2,000 in Orange County as part of their public safety power shutoffs program aimed at preventing wildfires during red flag conditions. The utility deactivates power lines to reduce the risk of sparks from damaged equipment. Now another 124,000 customers in LA County and 35,000 in Orange County could also lose power.
Let's begin at this hour by talking about the Palisades Fire. As we talked about, 20,000 acres, more than 5,000 structures are now destroyed. Good news is we finally have some containment. We're at 6% containment. We know that there have been deaths associated with, the exact number unclear. The fire continues to force tens of thousands of people under mandatory evacuation warnings and orders, and all of that is happening in Pacific Palisades.
Now to the Eaton Fire. This is in Altadena, right near Pasadena. The fire has exploded to almost 14,000 acres. This one still does have 0% containment. More than 32,000 people are under evacuation orders. This is including in parts of Pasadena and Altadena. Again, 0% contained, although it states on your screen 5 people killed. That 5 people total, according to LA County Sheriff Robert Luna. 5 people 3 people in the Eaton Fire and 2 lost their lives in the Palisades Fire.
Hurst Fire, Sylmar, now at 37% containment. Good news there. A lot of the evacuation zones have been lifted.
And the Kenneth Fire, that one erupted at 3:15 today. That was live right here on our air, scorching almost 1,000 acres, and the containment is up to 35% containment as well. Evacuations have been downgraded to warnings, and it did spread into Ventura County by evening tonight.
So let's talk more about the Palisades Fire right now. Fox 11's Ed Lascos is in Pacific Palisades. Ed.
And for the very first time since this firefight began, virtually no wind, no destructive wind here in the heart of the village here at Sunset and Swarthmore. Just an occasional very light breeze. It is very smoky, a choking smoke, and lots of white ash will blow around. Almost looks at times like it might be snowing lightly here because of all that white ash. Mike will give you a look. I'm sure it's recognizable to many folks, as this is usually a place that's jumping this time of night. Not now. That's what's left of the Starbucks, very popular spot here at this corner, the Italian restaurant Casa Nostra right next door. This whole block here lost, like so many others, block after block here in the Palisades. It is gone. Mikey will swing over and give you a look at Sunset. This is one of the many convoys that we've seen moving through here of security, because the focus now in this area is not so much on fires, if you will, but on protection, structure protection, protection against looters. LA County Sheriff Robert Luna says they've already made several arrests arrests, several in this area, and there is all kind of security out here tonight. You're looking at a lot more of the units moving in now, from LAPD to the LA County Sheriff's Department to the California Highway Patrol, the Pacific Palisades Patrol, as they call it. They have their own patrol that goes through here, the forestry. Everybody is out. They've got their flashlights, their searchlights on their black and whites, and they are looking for potential looters. And as the sheriff was pointing out, to tell you, if you're going to be, I'll be blunt about it, if you're going to be a fool and come up here and try to loot and to go into a building that has not burned, and you think you've got to watch out just for somebody who's in uniform, think again. Listen to the sheriff.
We have a lot of undercover deputies out there as well. If you call on one of them, I encourage that too, because some of these guys and girls don't look like police officers. I'm telling you that because I'm warning people out there that are going to try and prey on our community. Don't do it. I'm telling you right now, you're going to get arrested. And from my conversation with the district attorney this morning, I've had 2 conversations with him. He's going to prosecute you to the full extent of the law. It is not worth it. Don't try it here.
Now you're looking live. What is left here? Look at that, huh? No wind, but even more so, stars and stripes still up there. Battered, that flag has been torn, it is burnt, but it's still up there. Maybe a sign of the spirit that's here, still alive in Pacific Palisades. As to the sheriff's point, he was saying, and even we heard the LA County DA also say, if you're going to come in here and loot, you'll be prosecuted. I think it was a DA quoting him who said, we'll come down on you like a ton of bricks. That's pretty much what we're talking about here. One other thought, you know, folks were saying, well, you've seen the devastation, horrific devastation. So what can you loot? What can you take? Well, the thing is, these looters are going after buildings that are not damaged, but they're unlocked on purpose because they had to leave here when everybody evacuated, leave the doors, the gates open so firefighters could get in. So it's an easy target for these looters. They're going around at light law enforcement, and they're also looking for anybody who might be using flashlights in a lot of the buildings that are not damaged because there's no electricity. So the looters, in theory, would be using flashlights to look around. That's something that law enforcement's looking at tonight. And one other thing, I don't know about a curfew. We've been hearing the possibility of a curfew here till 6 in the morning. Don't know if it's official, but I can tell you there is no activity, no civilian activity at all this late hour here in the Palisades. That's it at this point. Let's head back to the west side.
It is very eerie there. All right, Ed, thank you so much.
So many businesses have been impacted this. Joining us right now is the administrator of the Small Business Administration. That is a cabinet post from the Biden administration. Isabel Casillas Guzman is the administrator. She's actually a SoCal native who just flew back from Washington to help in her hometown. Administrator, before we get into the specifics of businesses, just on a human level, how are you feeling tonight, and what was it like flying in here tonight and seeing some of the damage?
Oh, it's devastating. My family is in Southern California. My kids, my sisters, they've had to evacuate in the fire, and Eaton Fire in particular. So, of course, it's devastating to hear about these businesses and all these homes in my neighborhood, in my community, and throughout Los Angeles. And it's heartbreaking. It has been for the past several days as I've been tracking this with my team.
You know, more than 10,000, and of course we're so sorry that, you know, you have this personal connection. So many people here in our viewing area can absolutely relate. More than 10,000 structures have either been damaged or destroyed between these major fires that we're dealing with. A lot of those are small businesses. So for somebody who is a small business owner who no longer has that small business to go to, how do they seek help from you, the federal government?
Well, FEMA and the SBA are coming on the ground after disaster strikes, and we, of course, work across the whole of government. President Biden has deployed resources and has committed to ensure that we can provide the support that's needed. And obviously, right now, we're focused on response and controlling, and those first responders on the ground are ensuring that everyone can be safe. And so that's first and paramount. But of course, as people are recovering, the SBA steps in to help fill gaps in insurance. If you're underinsured or uninsured altogether, and you can't get capital elsewhere, the SBA provides affordable disaster loans so that you can have that buffer and get back into your home. It's actually not just businesses. I like to say that, of course, it's the small businesses, but their customers, their employees, those are the homeowners and renters in communities that depend on these small businesses, and vice versa. So we provide very low cost, 30-year term affordable loans, and under the Biden-Harris administration, we've tried to make these products more accessible. We defer payments and interest for 12 months. And you can get all these resources at sba.gov.
I believe the website is sba.gov.
Okay,
we just lost her her signal. Okay, we got you back. So you're about to tell us the website is sba.gov, right?
SBA.gov, and we will be coordinating with the governor's office as well as all the local electeds and the emergency managers and FEMA to ensure that we open up centers as well. If you want in-person assistance in the coming days, we will be coordinating and being on the ground. But SBA.gov, you can apply today and get access to these affordable loans.
Now, obviously, we know that you flew here because of the personal connection, but are you going to be on the ground visiting, the fire lines and see some of this destruction yourself and connect with business owners?
That's right, and I'll oftentimes travel with FEMA if there are a lot of businesses impacted, as well as those homes, just to assess damage and make sure that my team can deploy. We were pre-positioned and ready to help support all the Angelenos that have been impacted by these devastating fires.
And you'll be out tomorrow, I know, with the FEMA administrator to check out some of that damage up close. So there's some people they'll see this. We know that President Biden and Vice President Harris led a briefing about this in Washington today. But unfortunately, you all, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your perspective, are short timers. There's going to be a new administration in Washington within the next week or so. So what happens then? And what kind of continuity is there to your potential successor on these issues?
The SBA has an incredible mission-driven team that is dispersed around the country as well as in D.C. and will stay on. Those are the civil servants that will have a steady state, as well as the transition. The president has committed to an orderly transition, and obviously the Trump administration, as they come in, they will have folks on the ground as well at SBA. But these programs have been in existence for decades, and we have incredible processes and systems to ensure that those homeowners, those renters who have been impacted, who need that cash to maybe carry them through and be able to rebuild in the communities that they love so much, are able to get this assistance as soon as possible. And I will say that what we've tried to do with the SBA under Biden-Harris is streamline the process. So this application is now mobile friendly. It is available with customer support, chatbots. It is definitely a smoother interface for people to use. And so go to disasterassistance.gov to register for FEMA, get that support if you're eligible, and then go to as well sba.gov for that disaster assistance through us.
Really important information that a lot of people might not know about or didn't know that they would need to know about until this moment right now. Administrator, any other final thoughts or last words for the people of Southern California tonight?
Just that our hearts go out, but it's not just that. It's beyond that. We're here and ready for the long term. SBA stays on the ground, for the long term to make sure that businesses can recover and rebuild. And we have those great technical assistance providers, those small business development centers and women's business centers, and our district offices on the ground all around Los Angeles. If you want guidance and assistance as you're trying to figure out what your next steps are in assessing damage and deciding to rebuild.
All right, Administrator, thank you so much for being with us, and we appreciate the assistance, and it's been great talking to you throughout the last few years as well in this role, and we wish you the best and your family the best going forward.
Thank you. Same to you, Alex and Marla. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, we want to get to Palisades Fire, of course. Tom Vakar from our sister station, KTVU, he's there. Are you still in the same location? Is the building behind you still standing?
No, we're actually out on PCH. We wanted to make a point about something. You can't start businesses up. You can't start reconstruction. You can't do anything until you have your utilities back. And I want you to look at this. This is one of God knows how many collapsed poles here on the, these are utility poles on the PCH. And the problem is that this is a complex piece of equipment. It's not just a piece of wood sticking in the air. There's enormously complex stuff up there with breakers and switches and everything else, transformers and all of that stuff. And there are thousands of these sitting on the ground all over the Palisades area, but also in all the other fire areas. So the first thing you got to do is you got to clean all of this stuff up. That takes time. Then you got to plant new poles. That can take hours for each individual pole, which means that many organizations will have to come in from across the country, PG&E up north, SDG&E down south, and they're going to have to come in here and really do some major construction. Then you have to restring everything, and it's not just power poles that we're talking about here. We're talking about fiber optics. We're talking about cable. We're talking about all kinds of other things, including electricity, that are put on these lines and do all of the work that needs to be done in order to bring about the kinds of society that we want. Now, going up in the Mulholland area and looking at that, I cannot even begin to explain to you how many poles were down, how many were crooked over, and you can't, once they're burned or once they are, crooked over and they have any kind of problem with them, they just have to be replaced. So this is a long-haul thing that's going to take place just with this kind of infrastructure, let alone all the other public infrastructure and private infrastructure that has been damaged. So this is a process that can take a long time. They'll do very well and very quickly on these, a few months to get all of this back together, but the real kinds of things that need to be done to get the society back together are a long way off, and you're not going to see Malibu or Palisades back in any kind of real shape for quite a few years to come. I just thought we needed to mention that because this is a major priority that has to be dealt with before you deal with anything else. And that's really the way it is. I've seen this many times in many disasters, and it's always the same thing. Some people rebuild, a lot of people don't rebuild. If they don't rebuild, lots remain empty. Sometimes people say, I'm leaving and I'm not coming back. They want to sell their house. This is not a good time to sell the house, and why is that? Because of the insurance problem. All of these things are combining to make it tough, and that's why the people of LA, like the people of Santa Rosa and Paradise, just had to stand strong, and they're rebuilding their places, and this will be rebuilt as well. It's just going to take some time and some patience and some understanding. But I must say that given the fact there have been so few deaths, speaks greatly to the issue of warning the public in a proper time and the public actually going along with that, and that's why you had so few deaths. Now, there may be some more that come up, but the reality of the situation is we start from a reasonably good basis of not horrific tragedy to starting this whole rebuilding process. Back to you.
Tom, I want to make a couple of points. First of all, the LA County Medical Examiner is saying that officially there are 10 fire-related deaths. So that number has moved up to 10, unfortunately. And also make the point that you and I sort of flip-flopped. You're from down here. You report for KTVU in the Bay Area. I'm from the Bay Area. I now report down here. I'm bringing this up only to say, because you just brought up Santa Rosa. My mom lives in Santa Rosa. She dealt with the Tubbs fire. She didn't lose her house, but close friends of ours did lose our house. You covered the Tubbs fire. That was in 2017. More than 5,000 structures lost. There was more than 20 deaths there. They're still rebuilding in Santa Rosa. I know that firsthand. You've covered that fire, you're covering this fire. How do you compare the two?
Well, that was a much more concentrated kind of thing. Coffee Park, which lost 1,500 homes in Santa Rosa, that was really a few square blocks, and it was just wiped out. To this day, there are still numerous empty lots there, but most of it has been rebuilt. The more rural places take a lot longer because people don't necessarily move to the more rural places. Those lots in Santa Rosa were very desirable lots in a very desirable town and all of that stuff. That's what this has going for it. This is a very desirable place in the country, and it has a lot going for it. But our insurance problems really stand in the way of that. This is probably going to be the biggest problem in recovery, is figuring out what we are going to do about insurance. And I think that this is a high-level mark now for the insurance crisis, because the deal that the insurance commissioner made with the insurance companies did not anticipate anything like this happening this quickly. So we're going to have to see what goes on with that. But the reality is that some people move away never to return. Some people will backfill and come back in, but a lot of those lots are going to remain empty for a long time to come.
Yeah, Pacific Palisades, one of the most affluent, most sought-after neighborhoods in the entire world. You know, the thought of empty lots there is quite something, and although you do think of Pacific Palisades and also Malibu right along PCH where a lot of homes were lost, you got to think that there's going to be a lot of incentive to get those things rebuilt quickly just because the real estate values are so high.
Tom Baker, thank you so much for your reporting.
The sad thing would be...
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I was going to say the sad thing would be this, that if people think that this is just a fire that happened to the rich, they're just wrong. A lot of the people who are going to be directly impacted by this don't live in these areas, as we saw over in over near the Altadena area and all of that stuff. And remember, all the employees of all those businesses, some of which are just barely making ends meet, are going to be punished by this issue of businesses being closed. So this is not a rich man's fire. This is a people's fire. Yeah. And there are a lot of people that are going to need help, and we need to keep that in mind because these are our California neighbors.
Yeah, and good point. And I wasn't suggesting that this only impacts the rich. My point was just that these homes are so desirable and such nice real estate that you think that there's going to be a real push to try to get them rebuilt. But all the complicating factors that you talked about are smart to bring up, especially insurance, which is something I think we as a state are going to be talking about a whole lot in the weeks and months and frankly years ahead. Tom, great perspective for us from Pacific Palisades.
Well, earlier tonight, we spoke with LA County Supervisor Lindsay Horvath about the alert that we all got on our phones that warned us about a possible evacuation. We asked her about that. It was sent erroneously.
We were frustrated and called our Office of Emergency Management right away to get it addressed. There was a corrective notification that came out. And as you may have just heard recently at the press conference, as the sheriff said, is in addition to our Director of Emergency Management, you know, we use technology now to communicate with all of our constituents at a time like this. And it is sincerely unfortunate that this technological glitch happened, and we know that going forward we're going to continue to communicate with people just as people are communicating with us using technology, and we are working to make sure it doesn't happen again.
We also spoke to former LA mayoral candidate Rick Caruso about his criticism of local leadership's response to all this.
I think that career politicians have making excuses down to a fine art, and you see it rolling out and trying to explain why there wasn't water. Nobody wants to hear an excuse why they lost their home, why they lost their business. The reality is they were not prepared enough. The reality is we all got the warnings of disastrous, catastrophic winds that could kill people that were issued, and thankfully they were. And the preparation just wasn't right. It wasn't enough. And you talk to the firefighters, they were so frustrated because they didn't have the water pressure they needed. They didn't have the water that they needed. They're standing with dry hoses. And this malarkey about fire hydrants are intended for homes and not for wildfires like this. My God, what an excuse to make.
Well, the person who made that excuse was the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, who has a home in Brentwood, not far from where Rick Caruso is. Of course, Rick Caruso famously endorsed Vice President Harris for president. It's been really interesting because Rick Caruso called in to our show a couple nights ago at the height of all of this, and then he ended up doing a lot of other media. The clips from our show, Elon Musk tweeted out literally 10, 15, 20 million views on the clips of him talking with us the other night. Then President Trump ended up talking about what he was talking about. President Biden was talking about that today, sort of responding to what Trump was saying. So the Caruso pushback is getting a whole lot of attention, and it's clear that this issue is going to be a huge part of Mayor Karen Bass's future, and as she, tries to be reelected, is going to be a huge issue for her, and the biggest test of her mayoralship is going to be rebuilding the city. It's clear that this is an issue, period. I mean, you have a show called The Issue Is. You could do 30 minutes on the water shortage that we've seen.
in how to prevent this moving forward. Because again, this wasn't a surprise to us. We were reporting, and by we, meteorologists here at Fox 11, including Adam Kruger, of course, they were reporting these life-threatening winds last week. Right. And the forecast was right on the money. I mean, it was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
And despite that, you know, the mayor made the decision to still go ahead with her trip to Ghana, which a lot of people have criticized her for. She says on the way back she was in constant communication working on this issue. But there's a lot of questions about the city's response. And we know that right now we're still in crisis mode. The mayor says it's not the right time to get into all that. I will get into that, saying let's focus on saving lives. But we know that there's a lot of you that are frustrated. We're trying to get you answers as much as we can. We've extended offers to both Mayor Bass and Governor Newsom to join us for interviews in prime time, go to them, all the rest of it. Let's hope that they will say yes to that. We'd love to be able to get your questions answered. Mayor Bass has been hosting at least multiple press conferences today. Governor Newsom didn't do any today. And so we hope to get you more answers in the days, weeks, and months ahead.
And in fact, the mayor's next press conference is tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., just as it was today. You can watch that live right here on our air, of course, during Good Day LA. Okay, let's talk about some school closures, because I know a lot of you are wondering. In light of all of the fires burning, here several school districts will remain closed through the rest of the week. I got it. The largest school district, LA Unified, announced campuses will remain closed tomorrow. The district also announced it will increase the number of meal distribution centers for students, and those locations are on our website. You can find all that at foxla.com. And going along with classes canceled for LAUSD, the superintendent, Alberto Carvalho, also saying that extracurricular activities are canceled as well. Now, other school districts that will be closed tomorrow include Pasadena and Burbank Unified, Glendale Unified, La Cañada Unified Schools. All UCLA campus operations and undergraduate classes will be canceled, while graduate courses will move to remote instruction through Friday. Yeah, we know Culver City also part of that. Pepperdine, part of the closure as well. That list expanding. A lot of folks are not going to be in school tomorrow. So a lot of people need help. That part is obvious. Fox trying to step up and help. We want you to as well. We've been partnering with the American Red Cross. You can make a donation just by scanning that QR code, which is on your screen right now. If that's too complicated, you don't get the phone out fast enough to do that, you can go to go.fox/Red Cross, make a donation right now. As we've been repeating all through the day, the best thing you can do, really, really, really the best thing you can do to help is to donate money. And Red Cross accepting those donations right now. And let's run through the emergency shelters that are open for evacuees. The first one to open once the Pasadena fire broke out, or pardon me, the Palisades Fire broke out, the Westwood Recreation Center. This is on Sepulveda Boulevard in Westwood. It does accept small pets as well, so keep that in mind. The city of Pasadena's emergency shelter, that one's the largest. This is located at Pasadena Civic Auditorium. That's where Gina Silva has been reporting for us tonight. Pomona Fairplex is another place you can go to seek refuge. This is, of course, in Pomona. In Pacoima, there's the Richie Valens Recreation Center. That's on Laurel Canyon Boulevard. In Los Angeles, outside of downtown, the Pan Pacific Recreation Center on Beverly Boulevard. On the west side of LA, the Stoner Recreation Center, Stoner Avenue. And then in Westlake Village, Calvary Community Church is opening its doors. Speaking of Gina Silva, she's been doing great work on the Eaton Fire today. She joins us live right now from Pasadena. And you're seeing a lot of the best of humanity tonight, Gina.
Indeed, so many volunteers. The plaza outside here was packed with many volunteers coming out here to feed the people. You know, they brought clothes, they brought books, they brought all kinds of things, even cards, credit cards, you know, those gift cards, $250. I mean, just amazing stuff. Right now, it's relatively quiet because it is sleep time. You know, it's time to rest. And this is right here at the Pasadena Exhibit Hall and Ballroom, where the the evacuees from the Eaton Fire are taking refuge. And currently, we have been told more than 800 people are staying here. And these are folks who have lost so much. Their neighborhoods decimated, their homes reduced to ashes by the Eaton Fire in the Altadena, Pasadena area. We spoke with one gentleman who lost his home. Another family member also lost his home. And then he realized he also lost his sister. His name is Zaire Calvin.
It felt like you were in a scene of a volcano movie. You saw embers flying everywhere, wind gushing at 90 miles per hour, going left and right. It was like fire bombs everywhere, and it was just exploding and burning. So Philip comes by, flashing a flashlight, telling me, oh, we gotta go, we need to get out of here. So packed up the family, left. When we were leaving, I noticed that my sister's car was still in front of the house. The next day, come back, her car is still sitting there, so I had to go back to figure out if you know, she was still there. My cousin, EJ, brave as he is, said, you know, I'll go and see what's going on, and he took a shovel, climbed over the debris, and started moving stuff around. And from there, he saw like a hip bone, and just, that's when he knew that she was there.
Absolutely heartbreaking. His sister is Evelyn McClendon. She was 59 years old. And now the medical examiner reports that there are 10 fire-related deaths. I'll send it back to you guys in the studio. Just heartbreaking.
You're right. We're getting word from the LA County medical examiner that, yes, 10 people have died, fire-related deaths, to your point, Gina. On the bright side, you know, for people who've been watching us and sticking with us, you had a wonderful woman named Terry who pulled up curbside, and she made chicken soup for everybody and put notes on her car that literally said, free chicken soup, you know, made with love, have some. And that was a bright spot of our day, I would say, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, you know, there are so many people like Terry who are coming out here. They're bringing clothes. They're bringing food. They're doing the same thing, you know, and it's just wonderful to see that the entire community is coming together to help folks in need.
You know, people sometimes slam Southern California because we're a bunch of different communities connected by freeways. We don't always have a central gathering spot. A lot of people are from different communities that move here, so we don't get the love or be thought of enough as a community or as a regional whole. And I think this is an example that there's a lot of people that love this area and that love each other, and it's really extraordinary to witness that. And Gina, we appreciate you bringing that to us, and we'll go back to you, and hopefully we'll have more of those sorts of scenes throughout the night. Meanwhile, a reminder that this thing is affecting people of all ages. Earlier today, Fox 11's Susan Harrisuna was in Altadena, where she went with a friend of hers and her family to check out what was their home but had been completely destroyed. The family says their kids didn't really fully grasp that their home was gone, so they wanted to see it up close. Now, so here's what happened when 6.5-year-old Henry checked it out.
But I don't know why, but this is what happened to our house. And a lot of stuff that I love is gone. That's my dad's bicycle right there, and my mom's bicycle is here somewhere, and now everything is broken, and it's all lost its color and stuff. And these are the only things I have. This, oh no, and this.
Yeah.
And it's so sad. And this. That I see a truck there right there. It's just moving, and
now your mom told me that you wanted to come and see all of this. Why was that?
Because I wanted to check on it and see if it was not broken. And my dad took a video that it was broken, so I went to go see so we could do this new stuff, and we went here for today so we know what happened, and that was our chimney where Santa comes, and now it's gone.
Wow. I mean, he's something else.
Yeah, Henry's mom, Daisy, told Susan she is surprised at her family's resilience at this difficult time. That little boy is way ahead of his age. He is so precious, and it was a much longer, poignant moment, and we're going to have that for you. That's coming up in the next hour, so stay tuned for that. On to this, there are reports that LAPD has detained a possible arson suspect in connection to the Kenneth Fire. This one broke out in the West Hills area about 3:15 today.
Zach Sauce is a reporter from our sister station, KTVU, who is down here tonight to help our coverage. We appreciate that, Zach. And you've been digging into this. A lot of people want to know, who is this guy and what happened here?
Yeah, just a really frightening scene here earlier in the community of Woodland Hills. We are at the intersection of Arcos and Galendo here in Woodland Hills, about 5 miles from the Kenneth Fire as the crow flies. Earlier today, neighbors saying they saw someone riding around on their bicycle with a blowtorch, a giant blowtorch, apparently stopping at various houses, trying to light garbage cans filled with tree debris on fire. Moving on to an old Christmas tree that was left out, trying to light that on fire. Neighbors, given all of the fires that have been happening in this community, understandably concerned. That is when they decided to step in. Now, you're probably looking at video of these neighbors stepping in. We are blurring the face of the suspect. That is because this person has not officially been connected to the Kenneth Fire by the LAPD. The LAPD has, though, arrested this person of suspected arson in this neighborhood. A police source, though, has told us that they believe this suspect is connected to the Kenneth Fire. That is what we've been told. So these neighbors stepping in, detaining this person using zip ties. Take a listen.
I just heard a lot of disturbance outside, and I heard someone in the front yard and someone else yelling over there, and there was a lot of yelling back and forth, and I didn't really know what was happening. So looked outside, and there was a gentleman with a blowtorch, like a propane blowtorch, like not a little one, like a full size, like commercial size blowtorch, and the other gentleman was yelling at him to put it down, and he didn't want to put it down, and we're like, no, you got to stop now. And he said, well, he's already tried to start a fire at my house. And so he tried to start a fire across the street. And he's like, he's got to stop. We need to detain this and call the police, get on the police. And so we called the police and basically detained him here until the police got here. And the police took him away.
The idea that this person may have started the fire, what goes through your head right now?
I mean, there's a lot of people on edge right now. It's terrifying. I've got 2 children inside that are very terrified of like what's going on. We can see smoke all around us. It's a terrifying time. You know, you don't want to put anyone through this. This isn't what we're about. This is just scary for everyone.
With all the fires around us, everybody's been on pins and needles. Everybody's like seeing all the footage, and we're just heartbroken by everything. And we're like, that could be us, you know. So as soon as you see that you may have stopped something, it's like, I don't know, you feel really like you feel happy that you might have kept something from happening here, because we don't need any more. We don't need any more of the stress that we've been under. We've got kids. We're trying to go to school. We're trying to go to work. You know, it's crazy. Crazy times.
Yeah, just some really brave actions of those neighbors stepping in here within minutes, police arriving, neighbors in this community of Woodland Hills who say this is generally a very quiet community, describing the police response as the largest they have ever seen here. You know, these neighbors potentially stopping something that could have turned out far worse. Back to you.
It most certainly could have, and we're so happy to report that the Kenneth Fire has 35% containment, and that forward progress was stopped a couple of hours ago. And when we first, reported this live on the air, it looked like a terrible situation was about to happen.
But if that arsonist would have potentially, if this is in fact an arsonist, would have done that 2 days ago, that whole neighborhood could be wiped out right now.
Yeah, that's right. And, I mean, again, you look at this neighborhood, another neighborhood with houses incredibly close to each other, with tons of dead tree debris all over the area. This could have easily blown up into a whole other fire.
Well, good work by our firefighting crews out there. We thank all of them in the air and on the ground. And we thank you, Zach Sauce from our sister station KTVU in the Bay Area, down here with us tonight. We really appreciate reporting all day long.
You bet.
Chloe's got a little delay there on Zach, but we're grateful to have him.
So let's talk about the issue of looting. I hate that we have to talk about this, but it's a real thing. And LA County is cracking down on looters. During the Palisades and Eaton wildfires, a curfew is expected to go into effect from 6 p.m. until 6 a.m. in the affected evacuation zones only. Officials say 20 people have been arrested for looting in evacuated areas. Sheriff's deputies, they are patrolling, guarding road closures, and enforcing evacuation orders. County leaders warn looters will face serious consequences. So, as mentioned, those stepped-up patrols in those affected fire areas. LA County Sheriff Robert Luna, he's working on a curfew to keep those looters from re-victimizing people who lost their homes. Here's what he had to say earlier.
Our goal is to attempt to implement a curfew within the specific impacted areas around the two fire areas, both for Palisades and Eaton. As we work through the legal process to get that done, the goal is to try and implement it tonight. If we're not able to do that, that may happen maybe by tomorrow night. That curfew looks like it'll be from 6 p.m. To 6 a.m. We had a number of looting arrests throughout the entire county region. That is unacceptable behavior. Having additional resources, having the National Guard with us, which will augment those resources, will help send a stronger message, keep people out of the impacted areas.
Let's talk more about that mistaken evacuation warning that you probably got on your phone if you live in LA County. Freaked a whole lot of people out. A lot of egg on the face of the LA County officials who sent this out, blaming technology error. Still, we spoke with former LA County Fire Chief Darrell Osby. He's not the person responsible for this. He's not in the job anymore. But we talked to him right after it went out. Here's some of what he had to say.
I know you have nothing to do with it. You're retired. I totally understand that. But this was sent out by the LA County Fire Department. It was deemed a mistake. What do you want the citizens of LA to know?
Yeah, I think it was a mistake. It was accidental. But at least it was sent out and people are aware of the system. Hopefully they send out something that retracts it and says it was accidental. But I think moving forward, they should use this more often. And when there's an incident like this and you get these type of alerts, you should respond to them accordingly.
I mean, that is a very generous reading of this here. We're looking at a situation where there are 5, major fires all burning at the same time. There's confusion as people are actually being evacuated. And it seems like a fire starting every second. The idea of sharing something like that as an accident right now, I mean, that is a massive, massive blunder that is creating panic for millions of people who just got this alert.
Yeah, I can't speak to the details nor the source, but if that's the case, that's very unfortunate.
Yeah. Okay.
How does it? Do you know how does it work? How does this system work in terms of who would be designated to alert that? Who presses the button?
I can't speak to the details of how it works specifically, but it's my understanding it's the Office of Emergency Services at the County of Los Angeles EOC. That's my understanding.
Okay, I want to make so this was live on the air earlier, and this was right after I think we had gotten the correction. We did get the correction when we had talked to Chief Osby, or it came during that interview. And the original alert said this is from the Los Angeles County Fire Department. So that's why you heard me say this was sent from LA County Fire Department, but that's incorrect. This was sent from the Office of Emergency Services, still with the county, but a different department. So I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, not a great look for them tonight. Meanwhile, the Palisades firefight continues tonight. Matthew Seedorf is in Topanga Canyon, where firefighters work tonight to get a fire out. Here's his report.
I'm Matthew Seedorf in Topanga Canyon. Tonight we're watching another wildfire. You can see they're making drops on it tonight. There it is right there, right on top of the flames on this hillside. We've been seeing flames just shooting off of these trees and putting embers up in the air, and that's one of the concerns tonight as the wind is picking up. We're going to look down this hillside, and you can see and possibly even hear the fire down on the hill. It's relatively close to some homes, and that's one of the concerns tonight, as we aren't sure if any of these people are here. But back out here on the roadways, there are firefighters here. They're watching this really closely. There's more flames on other parts of the hill, and this is just one of those concerns tonight as the wind is picking back up, that any fire that does start could spread more. We know that firefighters are watching this closely. Those that live in these homes are watching it closely, and we're watching it closely here on Fox 11. Reporting in Topanga Canyon tonight, Matthew Seedorf, Fox 11 News.
That was the first time we've even talked about that fire tonight. So all these different spot fires that we've seen, don't know if some of them started by arsonists as well. That's been the speculation.
All right, let's check in with our chief meteorologist, Adam Kruger. You've been tracking these winds since last week, and we're at the end of this cycle, right?
I think the finish line of this current Santa Ana wind event will be the end of the day tomorrow. Tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening is going to be a lot different, lighter winds and a different wind direction as well. But we are still dealing with very strong wind gusts right now. And while it might not seem like too big of a deal to a lot of you watching, that very well could be because you're in an area where the winds are not strong. There's a huge difference in the winds right now. And as we look at current wind gusts, you notice a lot of single digits around Los Angeles, but you get up in the mountains and the valleys, but it's especially the higher elevations where we have wind gusts currently that are over 60 miles per hour. You see the Santa Monica Mountains, there's some gusts 20s and 30s right now. So it's windy, and let me take you off to the east as well, where we happen to not have any fires. We hope that continues to be the case, but across the Inland Empire, pretty gusty right now. You get up to the San Bernardino Mountains, we've got some strong wind gusts in the 50s. The Santa Anas, we've got some wind gusts in the 40s and 50s as well. So just showing you this for a couple reasons. One is because the winds are so different across various parts of our area, but two, those winds are up there, and we expected them to have one last peak tonight and into tomorrow morning. That's why there's high wind warnings in effect into tomorrow morning. So let's take a look at the forecast wind gusts, and this model does a really good job of showing and highlighting where the strongest winds are going to be. And you see there's kind of like two main corridors, one right here north of LA, one right here coming down through the 15 Cajon Pass and down south of there. Around a lot of the LA Basin, down to Long Beach, to the beaches of Los Angeles County, you see there's kind of a pocket there. Even up into the San Gabriel Valley, we've got a pocket there where the winds are lighter, and we like to see that there. But as we continue on through the night here we go into 7 a.m. You can see those streaks across the map where the winds are going to be strongest. Once we start going through the day tomorrow, there will be a gradual change, gradual weakening of the winds. And now, if you follow the streamlines, you see the change in the wind direction by sometime mid-afternoon tomorrow. These winds coming in from the west, which is a lot better than coming in from the north-northeast like they've been doing this whole time. So this will do a couple of things. One, starts to bring the humidity up a little bit, and two is just, changes the direction of where the smoke is traveling. So that might be a little bit of an issue. Areas that might not have bad air quality, that could start to change at some point Friday. I'm going to go a little farther, though, into Saturday, and this is a moment, and this is not the next Santa Ana wind event, but this is Santa Ana-ish, I guess, is like a phrase that comes to mind, where we do have a bit of an offshore wind in some areas, and it could be a little bit breezy. I'm not quite sure there's going to be red flag warnings posted on Saturday or wind advisories or anything like that, but it's not a perfect scenario here, as there will be some pockets where it's a little breezy. Let me show you the humidity now. As we look at tomorrow afternoon, still very dry air, many areas 20% or lower, but as we go into Friday night, Saturday morning, this is great to see. We've got the humidity going up, and again, that's in part due to that wind coming in from the west. So that's going to help matters as well. Let's run through just some of the alerts, the advisories we have across the area. So there's the high wind warnings in yellow. That's where the strongest winds are expected. Then there's the wind advisory in this tan color. Just in general, you see the sustained winds forecast and then the gust forecast. And the difference in the two of those, technically, sustained winds would be the average wind speed over 2 minutes. And then a gust is just an instant burst of wind. And so that's why those numbers look higher there. As far as the time frame, the high wind warning here to the north and here around or just north of LA, that's in effect now till 2 p.m. Friday. Then we see this high wind warning here, which goes into effect at midnight and expires at 8 a.m. So that's a little bit of a different time frame. And then out to the east, we have the high wind warning actually ending at 6 a.m. tomorrow, and that probably changes to a wind advisory, I would imagine, shortly after that. Kind of semantics, but the point is, as we go through the day Friday, the winds will be lowering. Also, we just want to point out we have the red flag warning, which means fire weather conditions with us until 6 p.m. on Friday. And then we move on to the next chapter, and let's talk about that now. So again, I kind of mentioned that the finish line of our current event is at the end of the day tomorrow. Notice as we check out the pattern, this is basically now we have that offshore wind flow, and then as we go into Friday, we see that change in the wind direction. So that's going to help us out. Here comes the next low that could be a concern, and we've seen models indicate some sort of setup for Santa Ana winds for next week, but also every time I get a model update, and these update a couple times every day, I'm seeing a little bit of a different orientation and position between the high and the low, and that's going to make a big difference as to what type of intensity we get with the Santa Ana winds next week. But the setup is there for not what I would call extreme, maybe even not strong. It could be moderate or maybe strong, somewhere in that range, Santa Ana winds. It's definitely going to be some type of offshore wind, but the intensity, I think, is the part that still has to be sorted out. I want to emphasize, though, it is not at all looking like the setup that we had earlier this week with the just extreme perfect storm of winds. So well, let's see. Let's go back. Thought we had a graphic here to show you what the winds look like going into Monday of next week. I can actually just let me manually do that. It'll just take a couple seconds here, and I know we got plenty of time here tonight, right? So let me show you the snapshot of the future wind gusts, and I'm just going to back this up into, there we go. So this is now next week, and this is what one model is showing Tuesday of next week, with that setup for Santa Ana winds. So this will be the next thing we watch going into next week. We know there's going to be some type of Santa Ana wind event, still trying to sort out what that intensity is going to be. And I do want to mention, as far as we can tell with what's going on with the fires right now, and the aerial shots we had earlier, it seems that, you know, there might be a structure burning somewhere right now, but it seems that there's a minimal amount of that, if anything, and that the perimeters of the fires are mostly, I don't want to say contained, because they're not officially contained, but there's somewhat of like a sense of control going on right now. If a new fire starts, it could get out of control quickly, though, because we know those winds are still gusty in some spots. And as the winds pick up, embers can also, you know, fly around and create other fires. But of the big ones that are going right now, it seems like there's somewhat of control. I kind of get that sense from the way things have been going today. Guys?
That's a lot to run through. We appreciate it, Adam. Thank you so much. Let's talk about if you want to open up your hearts and your wallets. I don't mean to sound cheesy at all, but, you know, if you're able to donate, now is the time, because, as you know, there's so many communities that are in need after these Southern California wildfires have just decimated our area. You can help the American Red Cross provide meals and shelters to these families. You can scan the QR code that is on your screen. That will bring up a way for you to donate. You can also go to the website go.fox/redcross.org, and that'll take you there. You know, Fox, our parent company, has donated a whole lot of money to this effort as well. So I know a lot of you have reached out. How can I help? This is one of the ways that you can help.
And not to shout out our own bosses, which sounds a little self-serving, but a big shout out to Fox, who has kept us on commercial-free for days at a time now at an enormous cost to the company in order to try to provide this life-saving public service of giving out all this information to everybody. So sure. We're honored and grateful for the opportunity to be here, feel the responsibility of this as we all get through this together, and we're grateful for you all trusting us at home in this moment of crisis for our community. There was a crisis tonight in the San Fernando Valley, Conejo Valley. For a moment, we were really scared of the Kenneth Fire. Turned out to not end up destroying any homes. We have a lot of questions about potential arsonists behind it. Laura Diaz joins us live. We've been waiting for some sort of word from officials. Anything yet?
No, and I quite frankly don't think it's going to happen, Alex. We've been standing out here for hours now at the Victory Trailhead, and if you look over my shoulder, you can see that people have been here throughout the evening from various agencies. We were told that there were arson investigators here from Ventura County, that they were the lead agency, and they were trying to get more information about a potential arsonist. Now, our colleague has been reporting that they did pick up somebody more toward Woodland Hills, that it was actually citizens there who thought that he was acting in a very somewhat irrational and dangerous manner, and they were able to contain him at that hour. And so he's currently still being talked to, we are told, by authorities. But the situation is such that we're on the area that's between the LA County and the Ventura County line. Let's look at the video from earlier today when this fire broke out at about 2:30 in the afternoon. Some 1,000 acres were burned. The fortunate part was that it was sort of out in the middle of nowhere. There was a lot of dry brush. As we know, it's been extremely dry. There's so much fuel out there, and of course, pushed by the winds, all of this is a recipe for disaster. So authorities jumped right in and they evacuated people, and it was a wide swath of an area that they evacuated. So people were very concerned that it could spread to their homes. We watched as people stood on the street waiting, hoping that they could go back in and maybe just get some essentials that they might need. But fortunately, we were able to report that eventually they were able to lift up that mandatory evacuation. Now, not so long ago, we talked to some people who live in the area, and this is what they had to say.
Apparently, he saw him walking, and a couple of his neighbors did as well. They called the cops right away. Suspicious-looking guy. They all came out of their house. They told him to stay right there, held him down, stuff like that.
They detained him.
Yeah, they detained him. That's what I heard. A little while after we found out that the mandatory evacuation was lifted, just in case, but right away we heard there were looters in our area. Yeah. Right away, there were about 4 suspicious-looking cars. Cops were already patrolling the neighborhood, and by then we knew we just had to come home.
Okay. So you're dealing with the potential arsonists and looters, and
yeah.
I mean, you've had quite the afternoon.
Yeah, I really have. I mean, we're all used to this in Southern California, but around this area, especially in the Palisades Fire, I've had friends lose their house. I thought I was going to lose my house today. I was just praying to God that hopefully that the fire department, even though they're stretched thin, I know they are, but they got here as quick as they could.
Laura must have lost the communication. Our thanks to Laura Diaz for her reporting out there. In the meantime, we've been talking a lot, Marla, about the National Guard. A lot of folks were wondering, when is the National Guard going to get here? Well, they're here. The cavalry has arrived. Remember, I think the last time we saw the National Guard was during the George Floyd riots, if you remember that experience. But now we see those, military-looking vehicles driving on the freeway. They're being escorted right now. We believe this is in the Glendale area, driving on the freeway. And so you're going to start seeing some of these National Guard members in Pacific Palisades, in Altadena, in Pasadena, in some of the places that have been impacted by this, helping with logistics, helping also to try to stop the looting. Frankly, the sight of that vehicle is in itself a deterrent. It is a bit of people are going, why aren't they here yet? It's a bit of a process of calling up people that are not working 24/7 on this from different parts of the states, getting in their vehicles, driving here from different parts of the state. It takes a moment. Governor Newsom made the request yesterday. They are now here late night tonight to begin their service. We see members of the National Guard now on the move. This is something that Governor Newsom ordered with the request from L.A. County officials and L.A. County Sheriff Robert Luna.
Yes, and one of the first interviews that we did once we got on, Alex and I got on the air today at 2 p.m. was interviewing Senator Alex Padilla. We asked about the National Guard, and he had said that about 400 members were expected to arrive as early as tonight. So I'm going to assume that this is part of that group.
Yeah, it is.
And so Sky Fox following them as they will stage in the Glendale area. And it's, you know, the more boots on the ground, the better, because we need it.
We need it, and it is an all-hands-on-deck approach, as we see from all over the state and all over the country and all over the world. People are coming to our aid. Southern California has come to the aid of so many different regions when they're in need, and this is our moment of hurting, and it is heartening to see people from all over coming to help us. So we're about to approach the end of what we call the Fox 11 News at 10, and this is usually when we say good night LA, but tonight it is a continuation of our breaking news coverage.
I had no chance to get back here to get anything. Everything I own in the world. What I'm wearing and holding is what I have.
It's unbelievable to try and adjust to the fact that you had a home one day and nothing is there.
The wind changed on a dime, and next thing we know, we had to scramble to really get out of there. There was a lot of chaos. It was crazy. You'll get through it one day at a time, you know? Excuse me.
I woke them up and I said, you know what? This is not looking good. We got to get out of here.
That was our chimney where Santa comes, and now it's gone. Now we can't get presents here anymore.
It's just devastating. Everything we worked for.
This was your room, Henry? I was supposed to be here.
We're just going to try to pick up the pieces and see what's next, because we don't even know. It's sad to see everything that we work for, everything that we built here, to just be gone in hours.
My heart is broken. The beauty, the natural beauty is there. So we have to rebuild that community. I have so many neighbors that have lost their homes.
Please describe what your neighborhood looks like now.
It looks like a war zone. It's not only indescribable, it's unidentifiable. But you know what we didn't lose? We didn't lose the heart, and we didn't lose the soul, and we didn't lose the natural beauty. And those are the things that we need to rebuild.
Welcome, everyone, to the Fox 11 News at 11 o'clock on this Thursday night. This is typically the time that I say welcome to Good Night LA for your 30-minute fast-paced newscast. As you know, we haven't been doing that. We've been bringing you continuous coverage of all of the wildfires that are burning across Southern California. Thanks so much for being with us. I'm Marla Tejas.
And I'm Alex Michelson. Good to be with you tonight for the 11 o'clock hour. And we begin with some sad news.
At least 10 people are believed to be dead as these devastating fires grow. That number 10 is from the LA County Medical Examiner's Office, saying that 10 people have died. Fire-related deaths is what they are calling them. This number, though, could continue to rise. It is expected to rise. Here's the latest map from CAL FIRE. The Palisades Fire has burned almost 20,000 acres, while the Eaton Fire has burned more than 13,600 acres in Altadena near Pasadena.
Crews have contained 60% of the Lidia Fire in Acton. Evacuation orders remain there. We've got red flag warnings in effect still through Friday night here in Southern California.
What about power shutoffs? The high fire danger means that the power shutoffs for thousands tonight is very real. SoCal Edison has cut power to more than 35,000 customers in LA County and 2,000 in Orange County. It's part of their public safety power shutoffs program aimed at preventing wildfires during these red flag conditions. The utility deactivates power lines to reduce the risk of sparks from damaged equipment. Now, another 124,000 customers in LA County County and 35,000 in Orange County could also lose power. Now, the latest fire that erupted on our air this afternoon, this is the Kenneth Fire. This erupted in a West Hills neighborhood headed toward Calabasas. Latest numbers here show almost 1,000 acres have burned. There is 35% containment, and sources say that this is being investigated as arson. It started about 3:15 today right near the 101 freeway and Valley Circle Boulevard. Mandatory evacuations, they were ordered, but they have since been downgraded to just warnings. The best news is no injuries or structural damage have been reported, and by evening the fire had spread into Ventura County, but it looks like the crews made great work of this.
Yeah, excellent work, especially having those airdrops made all the difference. Palisades Fire, which started when those airdrops were not effective, and you see the result of that. More than 20,000 acres burned, more than 5,000 structures burned. We do have a little bit of containment tonight, 6% containment, which is up from 0%, so we'll take some progress. Tens of thousands of people that were under mandatory evacuation orders. A lot of them don't have homes to go back to. 13,000 buildings still considered at risk. This firefight continues nonstop. We still don't know what caused this fire. We do know, though, that the images are just heartbreaking. Meanwhile, there's the Eaton Fire. That's near Altadena and Pasadena. That's burned 13,000 plus acres. That's at 0% containment. We had new evacuation orders issued today as flames spread towards Mount Wilson. Thankfully, Mount Wilson not damaged. They were able to stop it right before it hit the towers. Residents in Glen Oaks and Chevy Chase canyons were allowed to return home after officials lifted some evacuation orders there.
Mandatory evacuations have been lifted for the Hurst fire. This is in Sylmar, the fire which started Tuesday night. This one has burned 770 plus acres. It is 37% contained.
There are reports tonight that the LAPD has detained a possible arson suspect in connection to the Kenneth Fire.
We want to go live to Woodland Hills, where Zach Sauce from our sister station KTVU in Oakland is helping out with our coverage tonight. And Zach, you've been in this Woodland Hills neighborhood that's typically quiet, but not tonight necessarily.
Yeah, far from quiet. You know, this afternoon already starting off incredibly tense for this neighborhood. We're about 5 miles as the crow flies from the Kenneth Fire. So people here were already on standby, ready to leave their homes. And then things got even more frightening for these neighbors. Around 4:30 this afternoon, we're along the intersection of Arcos and Glendo. Around 4:30 in the afternoon here, neighbors say they saw a man on a bicycle with a blowtorch. He was driving up and down the blocks with this blowtorch, apparently trying to light trash cans with tree debris on fire at one point, trying to light a old Christmas tree, a dead Christmas tree on fire. You know, neighbors fearing that he could start, of course, another fire, deciding they had had enough, that they were going to step in. They followed this gentleman up the block, and that is where two neighbors finally decided to detain him. They had zip ties, and thankfully they were able to hold on to this person. The LAPD arriving a short time later, taking this person into custody on suspected arson. Now, I can tell you that through a police source, we have learned that this person is believed to have been tied to the Kenneth Fire. We are blurring out their face. You are looking at this video of him being detained. We are blurring out his face because police have not officially come out and said that he is connected to the Kenneth Fire, but this is what a police source is saying. Neighbors now here being credited with potentially stopping another wildfire from starting. Take a listen.
I just heard a lot of disturbance outside, and I heard someone in the front yard and someone else yelling over there, and there was a lot of yelling back and forth, and I didn't really know what was happening. So looked outside, and there was a gentleman with a blowtorch, like a propane blowtorch, like not a little one, like a full size, like commercial size blowtorch. And the other gentleman was yelling at him to put it down, and he didn't want to put it down. And we're like, no, you got to stop now. And he said, well, he's already tried to start a fire at my house. And so he tried to start a fire across the street. And he's like, he's got to stop. We need to detain this and call the police, get on the police. And so we called the police and basically detained him here until the police got here. And the police took him away.
The idea that this person may have started the fire, what goes through your head right now?
I mean, there's a lot of people on edge right now. It's terrifying. I've got 2 children inside that are very terrified of like what's going on. We can see smoke all around us. It's a terrifying time. You know, you don't want to put anyone through this. This isn't what we're about. This is just scary for everyone.
With all the fires around us, everybody's been on pins and needles. Everybody's like seeing all the footage, and we're just heartbroken by everything. And we're like, that could be us, you know. So as soon as you see that you may have stopped something, it's like, I don't know. You feel really like you feel happy that you might have kept something from happening here, because we don't need any more. We don't need any more of the stress that we've been under. We've got kids. We're trying to go to school. We're trying to go to work. You know, it's crazy. Crazy times.
Yeah, a crazy time indeed. Just really a frightening situation here, particularly when you look at some of the tree debris outside of some of these homes, some of the dry brush here, some of the dry leaves on these trees. You know, it really possibly might have not taken very much for this whole area to go up. Back to you.
Yeah, we've talked about neighbors stepping up to donate or take care of people, but this is an example of neighbors stepping up to protect their neighborhood.
Yeah, it really is. Really remarkable. And, you know, the neighbors talked about, you know, not just wanting to help one another, but I mean, this is a situation where this is a neighborhood with a lot of families. Their kids were already terribly frightened about watching all of the fires go up in LA, the parents telling them, you know, we might have to leave at any moment. So this was not a situation where anyone in this neighborhood was willing to take any chances.
We can't blame them, given, you know, what they've been seeing in other neighborhoods. Zach Sauce from our Bay Area sister station, KTVU, thank you very much for your reporting tonight.
You bet.
All right, well, speaking of helping out your neighbors, you can join us here at Fox in supporting families impacted by the California wildfires. And here's how you can do that. This is all through the American Red Cross. They are seeking donations to help people recover from this disaster. So if you look at your TV screen right now and you'd like to scan the QR code to make a donation to the American Red Cross, you can do that simply. If you want to go to the website, you can also do that simply to make a donation. That website is go.fox/Red Cross to support these efforts. Fox Corporation donated $1 million today. So, you know, we know that the need is out there, and we thank our parent company for donating $1 million to help.
We'll show you where some of that need is. It's in Pacific Palisades. More than 20,000 acres burned. This is a picture from tonight as that firefight continues. The fire burning out of control in most directions, only 6% contained. Fox 11's Ed Lascos is right there in the village that used to be a bustling hot spot and right now is deserted, Ed.
Yeah, it is quiet here, eerily quiet, spooky quiet, if you will. And you're right, even at this late hour, it would still be very busy here with the movie theater over there at the village, the coffee shop, the yogurt shop behind me. Nothing here, nothing at all. No wind, that's the best part, I'm telling you, not even a slight breeze. First time I've been able to see that here in the Palisades since all of this started, this craziness. But still, the only problem, lots of heavy smoke. If you take off the mask, you might last a couple of minutes and you start to talk and you start to cough. Thick smoke. How smoky? Have a look into the light over there, the Nyla light, the broadcast light in short sleeve English, as we call it. Look at that, huh? All those white particles, the dust particles blowing through the air. It almost looks like one of those snow globes at Christmas, huh? You shake it up and you have all that stuff floating around. That's what is in the air here right through the night. And then a further look down here at the heart of the village, down Sunset, westbound at Swarthmore, the cross here. The only traffic, the only activity you see here, fire engines, and then more importantly, you see lots of law enforcement. I'm thinking from LAPD to LA County Sheriffs to the California Highway Patrol, the Palisades patrols that they have in the area, private security, back and forth. They've got their flashlights out. They got their searchlights on, looking at all the buildings. They are looking for looters, potential looters. Sheriff Luna already told us they've made arrests in this area dealing with looters, and they're watching for that right now, saying there is no tolerance for anybody who would re-victimize somebody who was already down on the canvas reeling from these horrible fires. And the sheriff making no bones about it that there is there's nobody watching, nobody taking a second look at this. You try to explain to law enforcement, they're saying, no, you don't belong here, especially with that upcoming curfew. And then you have the National Guard on its way, as we saw moments ago. That will add to the checkpoints here, because the checkpoints now have been augmented by departments from the LA Airport Authority, and the LA Ports Police have moved in to try to help, because the LAPD is busy really dealing with the looters. But anyway, let's talk about the sheriff and that warning he has to anybody who is foolish enough to come here into this zone and try to loot. Listen.
Unfortunately, we do have people who in time of crisis will take advantage of others, whether it's looting, burglary, or some kind of a scam. And I'm just warning everybody, hey, we're here and we're going to respond, we're going to investigate, we'll arrest. Some of the times when they're calling about suspicious people, there are people who are out there undercover. So just a warning to everybody out there, our resources are not all in uniform. And we are there, and we're going to protect the people who have been struck by this crisis, the most vulnerable, and we're there to protect your property once we ask you to leave.
Case closed. That from LA County Sheriff Robert Luna. Now you're live at a shot of what used to be a centerpiece here in the village. That is the Starbucks, but what's left of it now, a burnt-out shell right next to a very popular restaurant, Italian restaurant. Also, nothing here. Again, this is block after block through the Palisades. Utter destruction. Some vehicles, heavy vehicles on Sunset moving by. Some of the water tankers that are coming in here over by the village as they redeploy some of the equipment. But that's all you really see through here. And then coming up on our left, also, this is street after street. You see this LAPD here. Black and whites, they have their lights on, looking around for looters. We talk about what they're looking for, because you're saying when you look at this destruction, what the heck is there to loot? Well, in many of these businesses, buildings, condo buildings, apartment buildings, they are not damaged. They're still standing, but they're unlocked. They're wide open, if you will, because the gates to the parking garages, front doors, they are open to the main building themselves, intentionally for firefighters to get in there if they had to. And all this was really burning a couple of days ago and even earlier today. And the looters have free access, if you will, in there. And that's why law enforcement says no, no free access. You're not going in there. They're also looking, one other point I'll tell you is, as they go through with the patrols, it's so dark here, as you can see, so they look around for flashlights in the darkness, thinking if somebody's going to be looting, they'll be using their own flashlights in the buildings, and that tips them off, and then all of a sudden you see all the black and whites move in and deal with the situation. That's what's going on here now in the heart of the Palisades. Let's head back to the west side.
All right, Ed, I know you have great words for people that are terrible and do stuff. What would your word be for a looter that comes in and steals from people in their moment of great need?
I don't know if well, I certainly cannot say that, and I wouldn't be disrespectful to all the folks listening, but I think you know exactly what I would say, because a lot of people would say that too. When you see the destruction here and the people who are hurting down on their knees, people are literally crying. You want to cry when you're in the middle of this. So I would call them creeps, but you know, that's not even good enough for these sons of... Yeah. Oh, let's leave it at creeps, huh?
Okay.
Yeah, we'll take creeps.
Ed Lascos,
yes,
always has the perfect word ready. We appreciate it, Ed.
Thank you, Ed. The Eaton Fire, of course, that's in Altadena, right near Pasadena, and the Pasadena Convention Center is where a lot of people, hundreds of people, have sought refuge, because that's an evacuation center. Fox 11's Gina Silva, she is there, and this has been a refuge for so many.
It certainly has. Hundreds of evacuees are staying here tonight. Right now, they're inside. It's a shelter, and it's already past, what is it, past 11 p.m., so it is sleep time. Now, earlier, they were all hanging out outside of the plaza. Many people, giving them food, clothing, a lot of donations, so many great people helping out. But the evacuees, obviously, they have such heartbreaking stories to share.
Please describe what your neighborhood looks like now.
It looks like a war zone. It's It's not only indescribable, it's unidentifiable. I have walked those neighborhoods near the country club and golf course for 50 years. I don't recognize it when I walk through there now. It's just something I never thought I would see, and I'm sure you've heard that over and over and over again. But it's just indescribable.
Nobody had a clue. We were monitoring the fire, watching it go up, what they consider Echo Mountain from Eaton Canyon. And through that whole time, you know, we were basically like everybody else saying, hey, you know what, it looks like it's going to stay. We can make it through the night. Next thing you know, the street is full of smoke. And this was literally within 30 minutes. We had no clue. Streets full of smoke. I started seeing fire at the end of our street, so I'm running and knocking on doors. I mean, we've lost everything. Our home, 2 homes, like, didn't have time to get everything out of the house. So, like, we're literally starting from ground zero.
And that is the story of many, many people. Joining me live is Mitzi Thomas, who also lost her home, and I understand other family members. Your home of how many years?
The house was purchased in 1958. My parents bought the house in 1958, and it's gone. And my sister, she's owned her house about 15 years. It's gone. She was in Altadena. And I have another sister that was closer to Duarte. And we're not sure of the status of her house because she was under mandatory evacuations, and she's too nervous to check to see. But she hasn't been allowed back in her neighborhood. They just, in my neighborhood, is mandatory evacuated too. Even the houses that weren't touched, they still have to go because they're afraid of flare-ups.
In your particular neighborhood, your community, are all the homes lost?
No. It's kind of skipping mess. Like Amber went over here and got this house and might have skipped 3 or 4, and then another house set on fire. It wasn't as badly hurt because I live in North Pasadena, Northwest, like on the border of Altadena, Pasadena.
And you were earlier discussing, your biggest concern. Yes, you've got shelter right now. But...
Yes, but I'm afraid after the counter stops rolling, the people in our community are going to be lost and forgotten about. I'm afraid, the resources are going to stop, or there's not enough resources, because it doesn't seem like we're getting enough attention to Pasadena. The only thing I see is Palisades Fire, and I don't see Pasadena, Altadena like a minimum. And I'm thinking people are... the majority, there's more people in Pasadena, Altadena that were affected that were in Palisades. And Palisades Fire, only because my father has a home in Palisades too, there's only a good maybe 500 people, homes, residents that probably were affected, if that many up there. Here, thousands.
So many people.
Everybody.
Mitzi, how, with so much loss, how are you coping? How are you coping day to day?
My faith in God, and then the support of my family and friends. I only have one friend, but support.
Yeah. How can someone help?
We need funds. We need some. People need food. They don't have any place to go. All the hotels are booked up. The convention center's full. We need anything, food and money. I say food first because people are running around here looking for food. And then clothing. They don't have anything, shoes, nothing.
Were you able to get anything from your home?
Some pictures, my birth certificate, my favorite purse. That's about it. Not too much more. I got these flip-flops on. I don't have any clothes. I don't have any money.
And have you been able to communicate with your insurance company?
Oh, no. It was 2 hours on the phone this morning. We'll call you back. Holding. And when I finally got an actual live person, we'll call you back. And then when I tried, they never called back. When I attempted, I waited like 3 hours, called them back. It's just beep, 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 don't stop. But I got a hold of the Red Cross, and they passed the buck, and they told me, go to the convention center. You're right there in Pasadena. They're not offering anything but just... go there, go here, and then the majority of the places, they don't have enough. I was actually able to go to the city yard here in Pasadena this morning, and this evening, and they had stuff, and they were able to help the community out quite a bit. You know, there's a couple of young ladies that helped me. This young lady named Dwayna and her sister D'Amica, they helped me get a lot of things together, and they're supposed to be giving away food tomorrow at La Pinaresca Park, and I believe it's in the evening.
There are a lot of people who are helping.
There are a lot, but I'm afraid it's not enough.
Because you're afraid that it's going to end once.
It's going to end once the camera stops rolling. Like in 3 or 4 days, where are they going to go once they close the convention center? Where are people going to go? They already don't have enough to eat. There's like no, you know what I'm saying? They have vouchers for today, but what's going to happen tomorrow? Will they need breakfast? You know, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Who's going to step up?
Mitzi, I'm so sorry for your loss, and I thank you for speaking with us.
And thank you for giving me the chance to, you know, express my concerns.
Absolutely. Yours and so many others.
I hope you guys, I just don't want anybody to forget about us, because it's a lot rougher than a lot of people think. You know what I'm saying? It's not being properly portrayed, because we are total devastation. It looks like Beirut. I'm serious. If you guys get the cameras and get north of like, I say Woodbury, you'll see it's like nothing ever existed. Total devastation.
I've seen it, yes. Thank you so much, Mitzi. And she's right. I was also, we covered the fires in Hawaii. It looks the same. I mean, it is just decimated. It looks horrible. Yeah. So if you're watching us and you can help these evacuees, please do so, because they need all the help they can get.
Yeah, please pass on our love to Mitzi. She's a great spokesperson, and she's got a great purse, too.
She got her favorite purse.
And
great purse. Can we show the purse? Can we show the purse?
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Very nice.
We love it.
I like it.
Needed a moment of levity after everything today.
You bet.
But there's so much devastation in Altadena and in Pacific Palisades as well. We're over 5,000 structures lost, just an overwhelming loss in both communities tonight. And you know, we're going to do everything we can. But Gina, she does make a good point. And you saw some of this in Hawaii as well. I don't know, Gina, if you can still hear us. That does happen. That everybody's all into this for 2 or 3 days, and all the cameras are here, and all the social media posts are here, and everybody's into it. And then the next story comes, and then people feel left behind. And that could very well happen once again.
Absolutely. In fact, right before we met Mitzi, Joa Perez and I were talking about that. And we're like, what's going to happen once, I mean, because they can't stay at the convention center forever. And how long is it going to take to rebuild? And will the insurance companies really pay for what they're supposed to pay for? There's just so much uncertainty for hundreds and hundreds of people. And I just feel for them. You know, they don't know what they're going to do.
It is really heartbreaking. Well, Gina, you've done amazing reporting tonight, and we want to thank you. We're going to show, by the way, the clip with Terry coming up. So that's what I'm going to do right now, because we love Terry. So for our viewers, earlier tonight, Gina met a woman named Terry. She's from Glendale, who was giving out free chicken noodle soup that she made to those in need. Look at this.
Came across this vehicle right here, which says chicken noodle soup for the soul, free, just love. So I approached this young lady here, Terry.
Hi.
Hi, where are you from, Terry?
Glendale, just down the street.
Yeah. And what do you have here?
So, chicken soup. Yeah.
Chicken soup.
Just plain chicken noodle soup.
What, just made you come out here?
Everybody needs to make a difference. Do the littlest thing makes the big difference, and whatever I can do. And our family loves to cook, so.
Yeah, show us that soup.
Yes.
It smells good. It smells really good.
Yes. It's still fresh. So we just cooked it like a few hours ago.
Yeah.
So just mainly pasta, chicken, and then some carrots.
It looks delicious and it smells delicious. And yeah, we smelled it and I saw the signs. I'm like, oh, that is so nice of you to do that. And you're here by yourself and offering free food to anybody who wants it. It's wonderful.
We love Terry. Gina, how long did she stay? And I know literally on our air, she was passing out the cups of chicken noodle for people walking by, and they were hungry.
Yeah, they certainly were. Earlier, there were several food trucks that were here doing the same thing, giving free food to anyone who wanted it. And they were already packing up. So then Terry shows up with her soup, and she's got the signs there, and so people were ready for her soup. And when you guys asked me, is it good? It wasn't for me. I was just holding it to show it to you guys, and then a couple of people walked by, and so we gave it to them. But it smells so good. I wish I had tasted it.
Yeah, nothing quite like homemade.
So for people that are watching this that think, I want to help these people tomorrow when I get up, any advice for people on ways to help? And obviously we talk about usually the best way is to donate money, but other ways maybe people can help.
You know what? This plaza out here was packed, just packed with all kinds of people who brought, whatever they could. They so many things. So if you want to do that, you can come out here. Also, earlier today, I got a message on Instagram from people who were staging at the Rose Bowl. And it was just several people from different communities who came out to bring clothing. And if anybody wanted to go by there to pick up whatever they needed, they were there. There are also people who are offering their homes. They're offering their Airbnbs for free. So there are so many folks out there in Southern California who are stepping up and saying, we're here for you. You just, sort of have to look for it. But if you want to come out here tomorrow morning, it'll be busy. Right now it's bedtime, it's quiet, but in the morning, trust me, it will be busy with helpers.
Great. It's amazing to see the community step up and step forward and help each other like that. And, Pasadena Civic Center, the convention center, that's the largest evacuation center out of all the evacuation centers. So we're glad that people are showing up, and we appreciate all your reporting tonight, Gina. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Your love for people is infectious. We love watching Gina at work. This was not good. This is a super scooper, which we rent from the folks in Canada, in Quebec, which is why you're about to see that. See that wing right there? It was hit by a drone, and the drone crashed and collapsed, and because the drone hit it, it ended up tearing a hole in the wing. The plane was able to land safely, as you see there, pilot able to get out okay, but because of that, they can't fly it, at least not right now. So a plane that could be helpful to doing water drops, some 6 tons of water at a time, is now grounded because somebody was illegally flying a drone. And a reminder that it is a felony to fly a drone unauthorized in a fire zone right now. And so please don't do that tomorrow. And we hope that this plane can get repaired and can get back up in the air to help, because we need all the help we can get. Yeah, I mean, this was helping fight the Palisades Fire. As of Tuesday, there's 2 of them that we have. So this one is temporarily inoperable. The chief of LA County Fire reminding that, as you said, a felony, it's a federal crime punishable by up to 12 months in prison. And there's some serious fines that could be attached to it as well. So, the drone situation, let's not fly the drones when the airspace should be reserved for the firefighting aircraft. Okay, now to the Kenneth Fire. This was erupted near West Hills, burning near Calabasas. Containment up to 35%. Fox 11's Laura Diaz, she is live there right at the Ventura LA County line. And I know you've been trying to get answers from officials about a potential arson suspect.
Yes, I just got off the phone with Ventura County Fire, where they actually said to me that they could not comment on the investigation, that it was going to be handled completely by the LAPD. They would only confirm that arson investigators have been here on the scene, which is routine on any fire. They always send out the arson team to investigate. Of course, colleagues have been reporting about 5 miles from here that it was in Woodland Hills, where just regular regular citizen saw what they thought was very suspicious behavior and detained a person there who was then taken in by the LAPD for questioning. At this time, he's not being called a suspect. He was being called a person of interest. That's what I can tell you after speaking to the officials that I spoke to just moments ago at Ventura County Fire. It has been a very active evening here as we watched various trucks coming out throughout the evening. CAL FIRE, Ventura County Fire, LAPD manning the post behind me. Let's look at some video that was shot earlier. That was when the fire was going at a very quick pace. We know that many people had to be evacuated. The good news was that it broke out in an area where it was mostly brush, not that close to homes, but of course we haven't been able to take any kind of a chance lately because of the winds, the dry brush, and it's just so very dry outside. That's a perfect recipe for these fires to spread quickly, and we've been watching that for the last couple of days as people have suffered just so much tragedy and pain. So we were able to talk to people here in the neighborhood, and they gave us their perspective on what they saw, and they had a lot of concern. Let's listen to them now.
Apparently, he saw him walking, and a couple of his neighbors did as well. They called the cops right away. Suspicious-looking guy. They all came out of their house. They told him to stay right there, held him down, stuff like that.
They detained him.
Yeah, they detained him. That's what I heard. A little while after we found out that the mandatory evacuation was lifted, just in case, but right away we heard there were looters in our area. Yeah. Right away, there were about 4 suspicious-looking cars. Cops were already patrolling the neighborhood, and by then we knew we just had to come home.
Okay. So you're dealing with the potential arsonists and looters, and
yeah.
I mean, you've had quite the afternoon.
Yeah, I really have. I mean, we're all used to this in Southern California, but around this area, especially in the Palisades Fire, I've had friends lose their house. I thought I was going to lose my house today. I was just praying to God that hopefully that the fire department, even though they're stretched thin, I know they are, but they got here as quick as they could.
But the good news is that the fire is 35% contained. They are still able to battle it from the air, which is such an important component to try to putting out the fire completely. We know that 1,000 acres burned. There were no structures burned, and there were no structures even damaged. And the people that we saw out on the street earlier today, they've all been allowed back into their homes. So everybody's hoping that, the worst is over, at least for this area of West Hills. There was a possibility that it was pushing towards Calabasas and Hidden Hills, and people were very concerned earlier today. I'm Laura Diaz reporting live from West Hills, sending it back to the studio, Marla and Alex.
Yeah, Laura Diaz in West Hills, where it looks chilly tonight. Yeah. Laura, thank you so much for that reporting. Hopefully you can go home soon. Earlier today, we talked live with Senator Alex Padilla of California. Here's part of that conversation. Can you talk to us about what you saw seeing all this up close?
Yeah, I mean, before I get into the true heartbreaking scenery touring the impacted areas, just want to take a moment, as we should, to continue to share our thoughts with all the impacted families, the tens of thousands of families that have been displaced, some who know if their house is still standing or not, but all of us with a long road to rebuilding and recovery. And good news that their assistance and resources are available. The one-stop shop to begin with is disasterassistance.gov, disasterassistance.gov. Now, that being said, so what do we see? In the residential areas, what comes to mind to me is every house is a home, and every home is a family. And you're tracking the numbers, which are going to continue to grow, of how many homes have indeed been lost, and the rare home that seems to be untouched in a neighborhood that is full of ashes and rubble. It's truly heartbreaking. That's the word that keeps coming to mind. But we've rebuilt from disasters before, and we will again. So I hope folks find some solace in knowing that federal, state, and local government leaders are working together, not just to respond to the fires, but for the long haul, as I said, to rebuild home, rebuild communities.
That's Senator Alex Padilla here tonight. Senator Adam Schiff also here tonight. Governor Newsom here tonight. Really the focus of all of the state's leaders now in Southern California. And as we mentioned, the National Guard now moving into Southern California because of the order from Governor Newsom. Meanwhile, we were just talking about this with Laura. The LAPD has an arson suspect in custody tonight in connection to the Kenneth Fire. Tonight we spoke to LA County Supervisor Lindsay Horvath about that arson.
It is absolutely despicable if true, and I am grateful to our law enforcement officials who are investigating. I know that all who are on the front lines have seen the worst of the worst with the fires that we have seen throughout this region. They did not need to have one more fire to tackle with tonight or ever. And this is just extraordinary to see a fire like this come after we have seen so many throughout the region. These winds have been devastating, and yet we know that our first responders aren't letting us down, and they are fighting this with such tenacity, and I am grateful that they are digging even deeper. I was just with them at Zuma earlier this afternoon, talking with them about their resilience, how they're doing, how they are finding the resolve within themselves to continue fighting these fires. And so the fact that once they heard the alarm, they went back out and got right back to work. I'm just grateful for them. And I hope that should it turn out to be arson, that they are held to the fullest extent possible accountable.
Well, as we just heard from Laura Diaz out there, that LAPD, Alex, was saying that they're stopping short of calling this person an arson suspect. They're calling this person an arson person of interest. Yeah. Of course, we will stay on top of that.
Yeah, the phrase I just got from Eric Scott put out, male suspect was arrested on outstanding warrants unrelated to the active fires. That's this picture that went out earlier that a lot of people were referencing. So unclear exactly what
the connection.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll follow up with that.
Which would be helpful if they gave us a press conference, which they were teasing for several hours and then didn't do at Laura's location. So hopefully we get some more clarity in the morning on that one.
And she was there at the Ventura County, LA County line, and it's really windy out there. She said it was really cold. Let's check in with our chief meteorologist, Adam Kruger, for a look at those winds right now.
Yeah, and we could see the wind, blowing her hair in the trees in the background. And then we saw earlier Ed Lascos down around the Palisades Fire, and you can see how the wind was lighter there. And so we're in a situation now where we have a high wind warning, and that's in effect until the morning or even into the afternoon in some spots tomorrow. And there's also a red flag warning, so it's not like we can let our guard down yet, although as far as some of the fires, it seems like forward progress is beginning to be contained a little bit, which is some good news. But as we check out the current wind gusts, and this is color coded, so the orange and red numbers, those are gusts right now in the 50s and 60s. It's going to be some of those higher elevations in the mountains and through some of the valleys up north of LA where we see some of the stronger wind gusts. So there's one area right here, and then as we pan it farther east, and we don't know of any fires out in this direction, towards the San Bernardino Mountains, through the Inland Empire, and down towards the Santa Ana Mountains. But still, there's some very strong winds gusting right now through this area. And so these are the spots, kind of like these two main stripes on the map, that purple one and this purple one. And purple represents where gusts will be 35 or higher. Those are going to be the main areas to watch through the night and into tomorrow morning. Tomorrow will be a positive day in terms of the weather. We're going to find things improving in terms of the wind speeds dropping and the wind direction changing a little bit. But still, we have to make it through the night and the morning. And so, if another fire, we hope not, but if another fire starts, it still could spread rapidly. It's still critical fire weather conditions going into tomorrow. That's a look at 7 a.m. Now, as we go into Friday afternoon, tomorrow afternoon, this is a look at 3 p.m. And notice we have lighter winds across all of Southern California. We're going to see the red flag warning expire at 6 p.m. tomorrow. And notice the wind coming in from the west, which will actually help bring the humidity levels up a little bit as we go into Friday night and Saturday. Now, however, as we go into the weekend, we do see at least this model suggesting that we could get somewhat of a Santa Ana wind event, or at least a little more of an offshore dry wind taking shape. Notice the winds not quite to the level that we're seeing tonight, but there might be some gusts, 20, 30 miles per hour in those kind of the same areas, north and west of LA, and then also like east of LA as well. So this will be another time frame to watch as we go on into the weekend. That'd be late day Saturday. But the red flag warning for now expires for all these areas at 6 p.m. tomorrow. So that'll be kind of like the finish line of our current Santa Ana wind event. I do want to let you know, and we'll end it here, that there is, and officials have mentioned this in press conferences as well, but we are monitoring the potential for another Santa Ana wind event next week. And it's because of, once again, a setup with high pressure situated in one area, low pressure in another. Winds go clockwise around high, counterclockwise around low. And you see what that's going to do if they line up like this. That does funnel the winds right from east to west, or kind of like northeast to southwest through our area, which would be an offshore Santa Ana wind. This is, however, a different setup than what we had earlier this week, where it was an extreme pressure difference between the high and the low that set up very strong winds higher up in the atmosphere, and some of those made it down here to the surface and just added a boost to the Santa Ana wind event. So this is not quite like that, but we think it's possible there's a moderate to strong Santa Ana wind event in the works sometime around Monday to Tuesday of next week. This is just an example next week of what a model is showing for Tuesday, with those gusts maybe 40, 50 miles per hour in some spots. And so that's just another reason why we hope that as much progress that can be made will be made with the fires over the next few days, because we might be facing something like this as we go into Monday and Tuesday of next week.
All right, Adam, I hate to hear that, you know, future gusts. Here, come Monday, we're going to get another Santa Ana wind event. But appreciate you informing all of us. Let's talk about the Pasadena Humane Society.
Yeah, Haley Winslow joins us now on the phone. We know you are such an animal advocate yourself, our Fox 11 reporter. And Haley, you've got some news about what's happening when it comes to people's pets.
Hey, yes, Alex and Marla. Like many people, I've been really worried about the animals. Pasadena Humane has taken on 400 burned animals tonight from these wildfires, and many of them are in grave condition, so many on oxygen tonight. So one husky, for example, that a deputy found, paws scorched, fur singed all the way down to the skin. And in addition to burned dogs and cats, they've taken on bunnies, birds, lizards, even burned pigeons. People whose animals either escaped or were left behind because they couldn't get back home. And they were able to do this because of shelters and rescues around LA and the state. They came in and emptied the Pasadena Humane Shelter so that they could free up space. So Sacramento SPCA drove down, Best Friends Animal Society in LA helped out, Santa Barbara Humane, San Diego, they just took on truckloads of dogs from the shelter. And I just spoke to PR manager Kevin McManus a minute ago about the burn animals and how you can help. So they don't need supplies right now because people have been dropping off literally so many truckloads of supplies. Their entire parking lot is packed with crates and pet bowls, dog beds and blankets. McManus and his staff so tired. He was joking to me tonight about taking a nap on the pile of dog beds. They're so full, in fact, that they're renting storage through U-Haul tomorrow, but they really need the monetary donations to buy specialized equipment like hyperbaric chambers that help burned animals. Here's what he had to say.
I can't even count how many that I saw come in today that were just in rough shape. So it's highest priority to take care of them and make sure that they're comfortable and can get back healthy as soon as possible.
Are people coming back trying to find their animals?
You know, there's a lot of bright things that happened today and really victories, but one, I happened to bump into an older couple in the elevator on their way, and they were asking me, like, how do we get back to, we're here to get our cats. Irrelevant. I was like, great, let's walk you over to this desk and let you get your cats back. And so I bumped into them as they were leaving with their two senior cats and carriers, and I don't know, it's just like the happy reunion. It was one of the many things that I cried a little bit about today.
So many loving, kind people out there in the community trying to help that their website actually broke down tonight. So they're asking people to make donations through this link that we'll put on our website. It's give.pasadenahumane.org/fire. And again, that'll be on foxla.com. And I'm planning on being there tomorrow morning at 9 when the shelter opens to hopefully show you guys some more of these burned animals and what you can do to help, and the amazing oxygen and specialized hyperbaric chamber equipment that they have to help these animals survive this.
Yeah,
I'm Haley Winslow, and I'll send it back to you, Alex.
The video you sent, Haley, or they shot was really remarkable. Seeing all of those animals and thinking of that, and I didn't even think about that as a thing, that the animals that were there already needed to be moved, and so all these different shelters from around the state said, we'll take some, we'll take some. What an effort.
Yeah, I mean, Best Friends Animal Society, I talked to many of those nonprofits and rescues tonight too, and of course, you know, you could also help by adopting one of those adoptable dogs or fostering one, because obviously they're overloaded as well. You know what's going on with our shelter system. So they're actually having kind of a joint united meeting tomorrow about this very thing, because we know that this is, you know, Pasadena Humane is just one of the shelters affected. There's 5 major fires going on tonight, so anything you can do, but specifically for Pasadena Humane, they really need the money to buy that equipment to help these burn victims.
Well, we,
pretty remarkable.
You're such an animal lover. We're animal lovers. So many of our viewers, of course. I don't know who's not an animal lover.
There's a few cold-hearted people. Maybe the people setting these fires aren't. I don't know.
Yeah. Let's not go there. But, you know, I mean, you saw the goats, too, in there. My goodness, it's like a farm, these poor little things. So, Haley, we thank you. And again, Haley Winslow reporting on the line with us, and all this information, if you want to make a donation, this is on our website, foxla.com, and we'll look forward to, does this mean that you'll be live on Good Day LA tomorrow, Haley?
I'm planning on it, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Haley.
Great.
We'll be watching tomorrow morning. Thanks, Haley. Really appreciate you calling in and spotlighting that issue as well. Somebody else who's really good at using her platform is Jamie Lee Curtis, who was on The Tonight Show last night, and she talked about her deep connection to the Palisades Fire.
Now, literally, the entire city of the Pacific Palisades is burning, and you know, I flew here last night. I was on the plane, started getting texts, and it's gnarly, you guys. It's just a catastrophe in Southern California. Obviously, there have been horrific fires in many places. This is literally where I live. Everything. The market I shop in, the schools my kids go to, friends, many friends now have lost their homes.
She's urging action after sharing video of the Palisades. Jamie Lee Curtis stepped up herself, donating $1 million today, encouraging other people to donate to organizations like the American Red Cross. You know, she is such a full of emotion person who you can see in everything she talks about, and Jamie Lee Curtis helping to lead the celebrity response to this tonight.
Another familiar face, perhaps, is Fox Sports anchor Emmanuel Acho. He shared dramatic footage of the Sunset Fire in the Hollywood Hills as he was heading home yesterday.
Yo, LA is literally on fire. I'm driving home because somebody said the Hollywood Hills were on fire, and you can literally see the freaking fire in the Hollywood Hills. Like, this is right now in LA.
Yeah, this is a Sunset Fire that we brought you last night. The former NFL star filmed that gridlock in the streets as drivers were evacuating with that orange glow and thick smoke in the distance. Acho talked about the fires on Fox Sports talk show, The Facility, today.
There's a lot going on in the real world in LA right now. Producers have had to evacuate their houses. We have some producers working from home. I had to evacuate my house last night due to the fire in the Hollywood Hills. There have been fires, there's been devastation, there's been catastrophe, there has been calamity. So please send your thoughts, send your prayers to any loved ones, any friends, any family, and any strangers that you might even consider thinking about in the LA, the Hollywood Hills, the Palisades, Pasadena, Malibu, and all of those areas. Again, the facility.
Yeah, the list goes on. Unfortunately, Acho is asking for everyone to pray for those impacted by the devastation. The Sunset Fire, thank goodness we can report, although he was evacuated, as were so many. That was limited to just under 50 acres and 100% contained with no structures damaged.
We were just looking at a bunch of former NFL players on that show there, and big NFL news. The Vikings and Rams wild card game is not going to be played at SoFi Stadium. The Rams not going to be hosting stopping it. They're going to this neutral facility of Glendale, Arizona for safety reasons. The game will still air Monday at 5 o'clock on ESPN and ABC, but won't be here. Disappointing for Rams fans, but doing this as an abundance of caution. The Rams participating in that decision to move the game.
And now a big issue that a lot of people will be dealing with is insurance. And Tom Vakar from our sister station in the Bay Area, he's here in Southern California covering the Palisades Fire. He spoke earlier today about what needs to be done as the Palisades rebuilds.
One of the things that is going to be as significant as the loss of these homes, and probably a lot more expensive, is going to be replacing all this infrastructure, and both public infrastructure and private. Take a look at these trees. Most of them have been badly burned. Most of them will have to be brought down. Some people may want a landscape, some people may not. Some of these may be public trees. All of this is going to have to be dealt with. With respect to those utility poles, think about this. There's cable up there. There may be fiber optics up there. All of that stuff has to be replaced. And the only way you can do it in any reasonable amount of speed is to have a massive number of crews with a massive backlog of the equipment that they actually need. And that's one of the reasons utility bills and cable bills are so high, is because a lot of that stuff is available. It's still going to be months and in some cases years before this is fully squared away. But the idea of preparedness is really important to understand, that even with infrastructure, we have to be fully prepared.
Now, speaking about being prepared, earlier tonight, you heard those alarms likely on your cell phone. Almost everybody in LA County was sent this mistake telling you to evacuate. It was only meant for those people affected by the Kenneth Fire. It went to everybody. A lot of people were upset about this, including TMZ's Harvey Levin, who called in.
I looked in my office, and everybody got the alert, and nobody knew what to do. I mean, and this is just a microcosm of what's going on everywhere in the city, where, you know, you see this, and, you know, you're right, it just sends panic. And then what happens when the next alert was we made a mistake, and now what's going to happen with the next alert? And, you know, seconds matter. So this was a huge screw up, as you said. But I have to tell you, you guys did an interview Tuesday night with Rick Caruso, and Rick Caruso was critical of leadership in the city and the state. And I know there were certain people who called Rick Caruso after that and said, boy, that was a mistake to say that. Well, that has really kind of taken sail, things that he said. And there are a lot of people in this town who are really now critical of the priorities that some of the leaders sent, you know, from why are we, you know, and it's not like people are anti-bird or anti-fish, but when you have these sanctuaries to protect animals and you're not focused on reservoirs and water and things like that, I think it's really brought things to a head. And there are just a lot of angry people in town, and I didn't know they'd get angry still in the middle of the fire, but I'm really hearing it.
There was a moment, if you hadn't seen it, where Mayor Bass was getting off her plane coming back from Ghana. A reporter came up to her who happened to be, I think, on the same plane or nearby, threw a camera in her face. I don't know if she knew who he was. He's from Ireland, and he was asking her questions, and instead of responding at all, she just stood there, and it went for several minutes. That clip went viral, promoted in part by Elon Musk. Our interview with Rick Caruso went viral, promoted in part by Elon Musk, Donald Trump talking about it, and it seems like especially a lot of the right-wing accounts are really pushing this, but it's going beyond even just some of the conservative media, and there's a lot of folks. And then when you have incidents like what we just had, this alert going out, it raises questions about competence.
I do think, you know, one of the problems is I wish Elon Musk wouldn't push things like this out, because it shouldn't be hyper-political. This is about leadership. And to make it this kind, you know, jump on it politically, I think almost diminishes the point. And, you know, when you have disasters, and I mean, if this is as big a disaster as anything I've seen in this city in my lifetime, and I'm old, and, you know, this is where you need somebody, to hear how we're pulling everything together and what we're doing. And, people are worried about rebuilding, where they're going to live, what they're going to do, how it affects everybody. And you want to hear from leaders, and you want to hear a plan. And I agree with you. I mean, it's like, don't go on. It's simply true. Great, you went on national television for a national platform. This is a local story. And there are, and people are consuming information, not watching CNN. They're watching Channel 11. They're watching Channel 5. They're watching Channel 4. And that's where the focus should be. I just don't get it.
Well, we hope you're watching Channel 11, and we thank you for watching Channel 11.
Yeah.
Hours and hours on end. We have gone commercial-free. Alex, Adam, and myself, the three of us. It's been a long day. We've been here since 2 o'clock, commercial-free, and we're glad to be able to bring you this vital information.
This is a big moment that we're about to have because it signifies something important. We are about to go off the air and pause our coverage for the first time since Tuesday at 10:30 a.m. And the reason we're doing that is because we are now in a situation where we are not in as imminent a crisis. So that is good news. If something were to happen, break where we are in life-threatening mode again, we will come back on the air.
Yes, we will.
But the fact that we are now going to go back to some sense of normalcy and regular programming is a good sign. Most important thing maybe to look out for wind-wise in the hours ahead in maybe 30 seconds.
Sure, yeah. High wind warnings continue tonight through tomorrow morning. It's all going to change tomorrow for the better, weather-wise anyway. So winds get lower tomorrow. The direction of the wind changes, a little bit more of an onshore wind, slightly anyways. And so that's, I've been calling it the finish line of this event, is basically tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening.
And that's when that red flag warning officially expires.
Yeah.
At this point, 6 p.m. tomorrow.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, so we can all look forward to that.
Yeah.
If you're displaced tonight, of course, our hearts are broken for you. Lean on your neighbor, lean on us. We are here for you, as we have been all along. Brooke and Bob, they will pick up our coverage on Good Day LA starting at 4 a.m., so just 4 hours from now. Again, if anything happens between now and 4 a.m., you can count on us to break in and keep you updated.
Thank you so much for your trust in us during this moment of crisis for our community. We are going to be there with you through it all.